Welcome to the Empower Podcast, where we explore innovation, technology, entrepreneurs disrupting the industry. Today, we have that guy, David Mink. Dave, right now you're the Vice President of Operations of MyStateMLS. You've been basically there from day one, running that operation. You've done a lot of things, though, prior to MyStateMLS, being in media, a DJ. Tell me a little bit about that before we kind of dive into what you're doing today.
Yeah, it's so funny to be on these types of podcasts and they're like, "So how'd you get into this industry?" Or, what's your story? I was not in real estate at all. A lot of people, but especially in the real estate world, anyone that's like in some sort of like higher up position, whether it be at a local MLS or even if it's at like a third party site or some sort of platform, chances are they've had some sort of hand in real estate before that. Myself, no, not at all. So as you mentioned, yeah, I was in television, I was in radio. I was a television news producer and an on-air radio DJ for a long time. And I can't say a long time, for about the better half of a decade. And what's interesting about being in television, whether you're a producer, you're a reporter, you're an on-air anchor, the natural flow of things is once you're done doing those overnight hours, you're sick of getting up at midnight every single day. You're sick of being the guy that has to drive through the snowstorm to get to the studio just so you can get on the air and tell people not to drive in the snow. When once you're done with all of that and you're like, I need something a little bit more better for my sanity, the trajectory usually puts you in PR and marketing, either especially like because our job was writing. So you would either be writing press releases or you'd become like the public spokesperson of a company, of an agency. And where I am, I'm just outside of Albany, New York. We have the state capital here. We have every state agency possible. So half of the spokespeople, if not all of the spokespeople from every state agency is pretty much has been in news or media before they took on that role. So what had happened was we're going back now 14 years back in 2012. I had a shifting career, so I was no longer in television. I was still doing DJing. I still had that gig. But when I was getting out of television, first I was like, do I want to stick with this? Do I want to keep doing television? Or do I want to kind of make that pivot and get into PR and marketing? Just so happens this was still the age of Craigslist still being a thing and not being all bots and spam and garbage. I actually landed on an ad that was posted by the company looking for someone to help with the marketing of the MLS. I took a shot and I met with Dawn Pfaff, our president. She's still here. She was the one that created this entire venture. She's the reason we're all here. And I met with her, and it just so happens that she's also been in news and radio. And so she's like, wow, and you DJ, you are literally just a male version of me. I'm not sure if she wanted me to say that, but that's pretty much what she said. We were just so intertwined in our interests that I think it was a fairly easy decision for me to hop on. So that again, that's we're approaching 14 years to the day. I was brought on, and again, we were a small company. Yes, we're My State MLS now, so we're a nationwide platform, but we originally started as just a statewide MLS here in New York. So that first year, those first few months, was me learning the ropes about real estate. Again, I was not in real estate at all. I think I was still at that time. I was still living in my friend's basement. So I did rent an apartment before that, but then my roommate at the apartment bought a house and he's like, "Hey, come move in with me." So I was living in my friend's basement, so I was renting there, but never that I was never in the real estate world. I hadn't even shopped for a house at that point. So that first year was me just helping market the company, be it through email campaigns, social media. The biggest thing that we were doing is we were still doing it old school, knocking on doors. We were holding, meetings inside hotel conference centers and any type of meeting room that we could get. We would bring people in, invite people in. We would entice them with the free donuts, but then we would, tell them about what we did as a statewide MLS. So that's where we were again 14 years ago. Over the course of the past 14 years, we expanded to My State MLS. I didn't take on just the role of of marketing at that point, and then I also became the lead trainer. I was the only employee. I don't think we even mentioned that. I was literally the first and only employee of the company for a good amount of time there. So I really had to do everything. I was managing the phones, taking in customer support calls, helping any way, which way I could. Luckily, at that point, again, we were still a smaller company, so it was a little bit more manageable. I don't think I would ever be able to do all of this now alone, thankfully. I don't have to. So we started just doing the marketing. Then I was doing the training. Then I was building out marketing posts and marketing emails. Then I was doing training videos. Then I started taking on sales. Then I started working more closely with our developers and our in-house tech team. So I've kind of been in every single role that anyone could possibly be in at a company. And now it just so happens that we've now been able to hire all of these other different departments over the years. So now I don't have to wear as many hats. Granted, I still like to be involved in all the different aspects of the company just because I've been there, I've been in those seats, but I'm not looking to micromanage or anything like that. I'm just there to offer my input because I've seen everything that could possibly seen in the real estate world. But that's really the long and short of my journey as to how I got here. It was just a luck of the draw, a random Craigslist post, and me just deciding to take a leap and say, all right, I'm gonna step away from TV. At that point, I don't even know if I've ever told our president this story, so I'll tell you, you're gonna get one of the exclusives. I didn't know if it was going to be a permanent role for me. I was like, you know what? I need to get a job. I need to make sure I can pay the bills and do the things I want to do. So I'm gonna take this job, and maybe I'll still look for jobs in TV and news. We'll see what happens. And it's safe to say I'm still not looking for that job in TV. This job is giving me so much more joy than I think any other job could have, at the point where for me, this isn't really a job. This has been a career. I get tons of people asking me now just because they know me. They know that I've been here forever. At least once every few weeks, someone is asking me, they're like, is this your company? Do you run this? I was like, no, no, no. I wish, but no, I'm just here forever.
All great minds at one time have lived in the basement. That
I loved it.
that I do
It was
know.
the best place ever. We called the house the Dude Ranch. We were in our 20s, so we're still partying and having fun. But quickly, all of us that lived in the house, we all eventually got girlfriends and everything pretty quick. So it wasn't a big party house for long. And I think everyone that we pretty much started dating while at that house, we're all now married to. So we all found our wives there.
It's funny, right before you and I first met, I was meeting with one of my brokers because I'm working on a project with them. And he's like, listen, it's really important that we make sure I get my state MLS into this program we're building for them. And I was like, my state MLS? I'm like, I've never heard of it, Mike. He's like, yeah. He's like, everybody in New York is signed up with my state MLS. It's one of the most important MLS systems in the state of New York over the local MLS. And so it was just weird. Then the next week I run into you. It was like the universe aligning somehow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was just wow. Who, like, I like it. My state MLS, who benefits the most from my state MLS? Because you guys are a big disruptor in the industry with these local, regionalized, National Association of Realtor MLSs that have all these regulations. They can fine you if you do something outside of guidelines that agents, at least the agents I work with, don't like.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that's in this business and in this industry can absolutely benefit in one way or another. So, like brokers or agents that are they're head over heels with their local MLS. They love it. They never want to leave it. They can still utilize My State MLS. We have a lot of users that do use us in addition to their local platform. And the benefit of that is now you're giving yourself an edge over your competition that may not be using us. So what happens is you go on listing appointments and you say, all right, Mr. Homeowner, I want to help sell your house. I want to be the agent you go with. So of course you already have your pitch deck. You already have the things outlining and bullet pointing what's going to set you apart from everyone else in your area. But adding My State MLS could be that one additional thing that maybe not everyone else in your market is offering at the time. So you can say, yes, it's going to be in the local MLS just like anyone else would, but I'm also going to put your home, your listing into a nationwide, statewide platform, which can be seen by everyone across the state, anyone across the country. So that's a big benefit for those that prefer their local MLS. Then we have brokers and agents that maybe do not want to utilize their local MLS anymore for one reason or another. You just, ran off a laundry list of reasons why someone may be upset with their current platform. So we have those switching entirely. Then, of course, I think probably the people that would be benefiting the most, and it's just slightly above those other categories, are those agents and brokers that may not have had an MLS before. It's crazy to think. I mean, there's almost 600 MLSs in the country, but there were still, before we came around, there were still pockets of land and area. There were still markets where there was no MLS being used. And what's happened over the years is, I'll refer to Dawn again. She calls me the mayor of these towns because over the years, what had happened is the brokers will get together and they'll say, and this is mostly in the Midwest, we've seen a lot of it in like Louisiana, even Illinois we've seen pockets like this where, so in Illinois, really the main MLS is the Chicago MLS there, but there were still pockets in different corners of the state where the brokers were not part of that MLS. And what they did is they all got together and they were still doing it old school, walking up and down the street, looking in each other's windows to see what was new on the market that day. They all got together. They said, hey, let's all utilize My State MLS. So they got in touch with me. I worked with them and we set them all up. So now, instead of not being on the internet and not having an online presence, they were able to go from keeping it old school and just keeping it on a main street to being now on a nationwide MLS. But now because they're on an MLS, now they're back on Realtor, they're back on Zillow, they're back on Homes, they're back on all these different platforms and marketing homes that they didn't have before. Now, granted, this was several years ago now, but we've seen these pockets across the entire country where there's still areas where they're still kicking it old school, not using an MLS for one reason or another. But once they find out about us, they come together and say, this is the platform we need. And it's always cool to see that that still exists, that there's still these homegrown efforts still happening. But the fact that they come and embrace us is really cool.
Absolutely. And I got to think there's a lot of room for growth in that arena, because there's all kinds of parts of the country that don't have MLS systems and are still doing it old way. And with the modern buyer now, they do like to look at Zillow. So your My State MLS transfers everything over just like a local MLS does to all the
Exactly.
places where the end consumer can go and do their own due diligence and basically shop, right?
Exactly. And that's, you bring up a great point because that's one of the big concerns that some brokers or agents may have if they're considering making that switch is they're always concerned about, well, what about the local MLS if I leave that and use us? It's it's 2026. We all have computers in our pockets. If I'm searching for a home, if I'm in the market, chances are I've got Zillow on my phone. I've got realtor.com on my phone. I've got alerts set on those apps to let me know as soon as a property matching my criteria hits the market, I'm going to know about it. So really it's this day and age, it's going to be always about getting in front of that buyer first. You don't necessarily need to get it in front of, you think about it, it's your competition. When you're putting it into an MLS and then having all the other local agents in your area see it, they are now going to send that listing out to all of their clients and customers. As an agent, you probably have drip email campaigns. You've got your CRM. So every buyer customer you have, you create the criteria of what they're looking for. And that your competition's buyer is already finding out about your listing before you even have the chance to market it yourself and get it out to the masses. Whereas with My State MLS, you may have that slight window where you can now market it directly to the public first through My State MLS versus having it go into the local MLS. And there's a whole lot of different ways that you can do that. You have, like I mentioned before, there's plenty of agents that use us in addition to their local MLS. And what they do is that's what they like to do is they'll put it in My State MLS to do the direct marketing, and then they'll also put it in their local MLS just to market to the other brokers and agents in their area. So it's really cool to see that the way we've developed this platform and the way that we help brokers and agents get their listings out there has been really cool. And I think a lot of brokers and agents see the benefit in that, and the fact that we've always been very proactive in making sure that our members try to get as many direct buyers leads as possible.
Right. But being in the real estate industry, we deal with a lot of interesting characters, right? As it relates to brokers. I gotta believe you've got some interesting brokers as clients that you get to interact with
Absolutely.
periodically.
Oh, percent. I think a lot of the stuff, some of the stuff that I just mentioned, a lot of so we have so one of the things that makes us really cool is we have live training on our platform twice a week where we kind of give some tips and tricks, not only just how to utilize our platform, but also just how to get the most out of it. And when it comes to how to market your listings, and a lot of the tips and tricks that we share with our members now are things that we've learned from our members who have shared their experiences with us. They're like, oh, what if I do this and I do this? And then what I'll do is then I'll do this, and we're like, that's amazing. You are a brilliant person because we didn't even think of that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, everyone comes from we're nationwide. So we literally talk to everyone from every corner of the country. So I personally play the accent game. Before I actually know where they're calling from, I try to pinpoint where they're calling from. It's always fun. I think my favorite ones to try to pinpoint are states like Pennsylvania have accents, and of course, then you get like people from Florida. Anyway, it's a fun little game, and I really do like in talking with the people that reach out to us, even if it's not necessarily just a sales call. It's really cool to see how everyone is navigating the real estate business because everyone has their own tips and tricks and they have their own tools of the trade. Everyone's read some book by some mentor, by some expert. So everyone's got their own ways of thinking. So it's always cool to kind of see how everyone approaches this business. And I think it's really cool. And then we get to like make just personal connections. Yes, I do sales here. I sell to different companies and brokers all the time. But for me, it's you make that personal connection and you just learn a little bit more about who these agents are, more so than trying to sell something to them. And I think they really do pick up on that. And that kind of what's helped over the years. And that's why people still ask me by name and still ask if I just got an email yesterday. They're like, hey, Dave, you still there? Just that's all the email said was, are you still
Just
there?
checking in, right? Just seeing
I
if
was like,
there's a pulse
I'm here.
there.
What do you need to talk about? Let's set up a call. So it's funny that, everyone's always got something to say.
Where do you see this real estate environment going with My State MLS? Technology is changing. It seems like the real estate sector is always very slow to adopt to technology, at least from my world working in default servicing, foreclosures. Where do you see it heading?
I don't know. I hate to make predictions and I hate to wear tinfoil hats at the same time. I think we're almost halfway through the year, and if we were to just look at just the past 6 months of what has been happening. I don't know if people should be worried, if it's a wake up call. Are we going to continue to see things move the way that they're doing? And I'm talking about we're seeing massive consolidations and acquisitions. And it's not even like the biggest brokerage in your town buying, the mom and pop shop. This is nationwide companies buying nationwide companies. I don't think we've ever seen it on this scale and this magnitude and this as many in succession. So are we going to continue to see that? If you were to go on to any Facebook group page or anything like that, there's going to be more tinfoil theories about who's going to acquire who next, who's buying who's going to be the next person to join with this company.
Do me a favor, elaborate on that a little bit. Who like can you give some examples? I'm curious.
Next Home was acquired by EXP, and then it was Compass had acquired Anywhere Real Estate. So, and that was very beginning of the year. So we've got very large nationwide brokerages joining forces with other nationwide brokerages. Is that going to continue? I don't know. We've got brokerages suing third-party sites. You've got third-party sites suing brokerages. You've got third-party sites suing MLSs. It's any day you want to open up Inman News, you're going to see another headline about someone suing someone over something. Are we going to continue to see that? Are these companies just going to continue fighting and going back and forth with different lawsuits against one another? I don't know. And then again, this all comes off the back of the massive, NAR settlement back in 2024.
You guys weren't involved in that?
So no, so my state MLS is independently owned. We're not associated or tied to any boards or associations, so we were not part of that settlement. The whole thing that brought that to a head was how commissions were being used and displayed in platforms. With us, my state MLS still has a co-broken commission field, but ours has always been different. It's an optional field, and we don't require it to be a certain amount or a percentage. It's whatever you want it to be. And this goes back to what I said before is we've always said that we're in the business to help you do yours. And that's kind of what we did. We don't want to be meddling in other people's business. The way that you are selling, if you're an agent and you're selling a property, how you sell that's up between you and the seller. We should not be getting involved with that. We just want to help you market that home. So if you're offering a commission, go ahead, put it in there. Is it a percent? Sure. Is it a flat fee? Sure. If it's negotiable upon closing, sure, put that in there. If you're not offering anything and you're going to leave that up for the buyer's broker to make sure they've got their buyer's, commission agreement signed, you select no, and it'll tell that buyer's broker that you've got a contact to get more info or make sure you've got your ducks in a row.
I like that, man. Like out here in California, for example, people submit an offer and then you got to negotiate all these commissions and it just delays things and it becomes kind of a hassle, to be honest with you.
I think what happens is especially when that came out, I think there was a lot of people scared. They weren't sure what they were going to do, but it almost feels just like a regular news cycle where it was a hot button issue for just a little bit, and I think everyone was able to quickly adapt, and wasn't a it wasn't as big of an issue as people may have thought it was going to be or maybe feared it was going to be. But again, it may still be a problem for some people. I'm not sure. Again, going back to Facebook groups, you can go to any of those real estate realtor Facebook pages and there's always someone complaining that they're worried about how they're going to get paid because so and so doesn't have enough money or there's not enough money for the closing costs or whatever, so but also I don't that's also the internet. I don't know how many of those posts are actually true, how much of them are just marketing plays. I don't know, but those stories are out there.
Yeah. Well, I love what my state MLS is doing. If it was up to you or if you could read, Don's vision, like where do you want to take my state MLS in the next 5 years? Because I'm sure it's expansion. I mean, how do you expand and get people to adopt to an easier way to market and sell properties?
I think the question that comes up when we talk about where do we go from here, I think the one piece that comes up probably the most often, and this has been coming up for years, is international. So yes, there's already some of the biggest brokerages already have international platforms, but there's still a lot of countries where they actually don't have MLSs. We've been approached by representatives in countries multiple times over the years asking to build out an MLS platform. I actually met with a group of gentlemen from another country and we met in the city and we're talking about how we could do this. And the need and want is there. However, it just comes down to who's willing to help make it happen.
Right. The island of Puerto Rico could use my state MLS because
So
a
the
lot
island
of
of
those
Puerto Rico has
listing.
my state MLS.
Okay, there you go.
So because we are nationwide, we work in all 50 states as well as the territories. So we already have brokerages and agents in Puerto Rico already using us. And actually we've been working with we've got part of our sales team that's what they focus on. They've been trying to help with agents in Puerto Rico get accustomed and utilizing our platform, teaching them how to use it because again they've made a switch. Then what I do here on my end is I also work on partnerships. So we're working with platforms to syndicate listings to some of the syndication sites that may be in Puerto Rico. So it's a very exciting time for us, especially in Puerto Rico. But yeah, I'm talking about like overseas where they may
Like
not have anything.
Spain and Italy and
Yeah.
countries like that. That would make sense.
Yeah.
That would be
I'm ready for someone to send me to Dubai. Maybe that's where I need to go next.
There you go. I like that. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. All right, let's ask some interesting questions. What's the hardest lesson that you have learned from transitioning from media to real estate?
Hmm.
Everybody wants to get into real estate. They think it's really great, and it is great once you learn and taken those, those skid marks, basically.
I I think the biggest thing that new agents don't consider is the upfront costs. I think that's the biggest thing that catches everyone by surprise. And that's one of the reasons that we see a lot of newer agents use My State MLS as well. And that issue all comes down to they don't have a nest egg. Agents, they get excited, they get their license, they then find a broker where they're going to hang their license and start working. But then the broker says, okay, now you need to pay for your realtor dues. Now you need to pay for the local MLS. Now you have to pay for the local real estate board. Oh, you're also going to have to pay for this platform, and this platform. Good luck. And that new agent's like, I don't have $2,000. Get started. So, I think that's the biggest thing is they don't realize that there's an upfront cost right out of the gate just to get started.
Yeah, the cost of doing business initially, they do get a sticker shock.
Absolutely. And with our platform just being a fraction of the cost is one of the things that really helps those new agents. They don't have to, because again, new agents may not necessarily be able to secure those seller leads right out of the gate. Maybe they are just working buyers leads, or they're just still getting their feet wet. They're not sure where in the business they're going to fit in. But being part of at least My State MLS still lets them to be able to have the tools necessary to maybe conduct home searches or if they wanted to put a listing in. It's great for a lot of folks. And one of the other aspects that we didn't touch on is brokers that hold the licenses of agents just to help those agents remain active. Um, no one ever retires from real estate. I can confidently say I don't think anyone actually retires from real estate. They'll keep that license active for as long as they're alive. Because again, they never know when, Uncle Ricky's gonna call and say, "Hey, I'm gonna move to Florida. Can you go sell my
You
house
sell
for
my
me?"
house.
Exactly. So everyone keeps their license. So this is a great option for those agents that just want to keep their license active and just want to have a platform and for those in case it happens. It's great for those. So I talked about brokers if they've got maybe a referral house, those agents that didn't want to join the realtor board, join the local MLS and pay those, hundreds upon thousands of dollars, they can use My State MLS as a way to, still be active and still be able to practice and do it at a lower cost.
Yeah, and still get some deals done. Two questions. What would you tell agents to stop doing immediately in this business, and what would you tell agents to start doing immediately in this business with the change, technology? We got AI now.
Probably, I think really getting your digital footprint is probably going to be the best thing you could probably do, especially if again, if you're starting literally from the ground floor and at the very bottom, I would probably say you have to start establishing that digital footprint, getting all of
Agreed.
your social media
Agreed.
platforms in place, have a website. Even again, it may be basic, but you can still at least chalk it up and have it look pretty just so you can start to rank. You're going to have to figure out ways to rank in social media, or it's not rank in social media. You're gonna have to find out how to rank it on Google. You're gonna have to find ways to get your SEO up as quickly as possible. It's gonna be a very uphill battle if you're trying to establish yourself online. But if you're starting right from the beginning, and it's a
Yeah,
terrible thing to have to say, but you're gonna have to play the game, and it means sitting in front of your computer, just trying to get yourself out there.
absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Uh,
What's very good book? Doesn't have to be industry related. What's one of the best books that you recommend for people to read?
in anything or in terms of real estate, because
We'll keep it to real estate.
this is a book by Willie Miranda called How to Not Get Your Ass Kicked in a Real Estate Business.
Love it, man. I love it. How to not get your ass kicked in the real estate business.
Exactly. So that was the first thing that came to mind. Again, Willie's been a great supporter of New York State MLS. I say New York State MLS because again, he is a New York State MLS member, but he's a huge proponent of what we've been doing, a huge supporter of what we've been doing for the past decade or so. So that when you said book, his always comes to mind. And if anything, it's mostly because of the title.
Nice. I know it's definitely a title that kicks ass for sure. Well, listen, Dave, I'm a big fan of you guys. I'm a big fan of My State MLS. I think what you're doing adds disruption. It's innovative, and I think more people, more brokers are going to be adopting to it as they get educated on it and what sets you guys apart. Where can people, agents find information about yourself and My State MLS? Where can they go?
You can always just visit mystatemls.com. It's going to give you all the information that you really need about us. But if you want to more than just reading an article or reading a post on the site, just reach out to me directly. One of the perks of being the first employees, I got first pick of the email that I wanted. So it's super easy to remember. It's just dave@mystatemls.com. You can't forget it. It's super easy. So anyone can always reach out to me. I'm always open. I love to have those conversations and kind of explore where my state MLS fits into anyone's day-to-day business.
Hey, listen, man, I really appreciate you having you on the show. It's been a fun conversation, and look forward to keeping track of you guys and promoting your business and staying in touch. Thanks for joining, man.
Of course, thank you.